We need Spartan 110.
The bin.
The Xbox Live Party Podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am your boy Redders, and today we are back doing another game review. Now, before we get started, I just want to take a moment to apologize. As you may have noticed, over the last few months there hasn't been any new content on my YouTube channel, and there's a lot of you will know I was busy moving house and I just didn't have any internet for 3 or 4 weeks. Anyway, we're back now, a new year, a new home, and the game we're going to be reviewing today is called the Anacrusis. Now, the Anacrusis came into Xbox Game Pass on January 13th. Is made by a small studio called Stray Bombay, and I believe they are comprised of ex-Valve and Riot developers. And this game is an early preview game, and I cannot stress that enough. This game is an early preview game. Anyway, with that being said, let's get into this review. The Anacrusis is a 4-player cooperative first-person shooter set aboard a massive starship stranded at the edge of explored space. You team up with your friends in an infinitely replayable fight against alien hordes to unlock perks, weapons, and new ways to play that you can share with your team. Now, I didn't learn any of that through playing the game. I actually had to read that on the Xbox.com website. In fact, you actually get told very little about what's going on aboard the Anacrusis and why you're in this current predicament. So at the time of doing this review, I believe there are 3 levels that you can choose from, and they're going to be adding more soon, although I can't actually tell you when these are going to get added. And if you're an achievement hunter and you're looking to play this game for some achievements, you're going to have to wait a while for future updates, because at the moment achievements just aren't supported. So let me start off by talking about one of the positive things that I did like about this game, and that is the overall concept. I was immediately drawn to the 1970s sci-fi art style, and that's actually what led me to download the Anacrusis to begin with, because prior to finding it on Xbox Game Pass, I actually didn't know anything about this game. However, I found that once I got into the game, this art style just doesn't hold up well, and unfortunately I think it captures one of the worst aspects about the 70s, and that's the colour beige. Now, what I mean by that is when you think of the colour beige, you think of something being really boring and bland, and unfortunately I think that is a suitable way of summing up everything about the Anacrusis. Everything feels very boring and bland, and it's a real shame because this is meant to be a sci-fi game set in the 70s, and there is so much potential there to create an awesome and fun experience, and I just think the execution has been very, very poor. From the very start of my playthrough, I just felt like there was something off with my controls. The analog sticks on the Xbox are in a bit of a bizarre state. They feel very slow and sluggish to respond, and they just leave you feeling like you're fighting with the controller, and even after playing with my sensitivity settings, this still wasn't enough to stop the inconsistency with where I was looking and aiming. The combat just feels like something you would have expected from a game 15 to 20 years ago. It's also suffering from obvious performance issues, even on the Xbox Series X, and I found that the frame rate was often erratic and all over the place. And when you combine that with the slow and sluggish controls, it just leads to a really jarring experience, and I actually found that I was getting motion sickness the longer I played the game. I just find this really strange because graphically I didn't think the game was anything special. In fact, I would even go as far to say that there are games on the Xbox 360 that not only looked better, but they performed better too. So, there are 4 characters in the game, however I didn't learn anything about them other than their names and what they look like. I don't think they have much backstory, and the dialogue between them is borderline non-existent, bar a few repetitive one-liners and the odd sentence regarding what your current objective is. In fact, I don't even remember being able to choose which character I wanted to be, and I just found this to be really disappointing. I wish the characters would have been fleshed out a little bit more. I find it hard to root for a hero when you know nothing about that hero. And the same can be said for the enemies. The enemies are just really boring and bland. They've got no real backstory. You don't know why they're attacking you or why you're in this current situation to begin with. You've got your standard enemies, and then you've got your more elite enemies. Enemies like the Brute, which obviously does a lot more damage and takes a lot more bullets to kill. You have an enemy called a Gooper. Yes, you heard me correctly. It's called a Gooper, and it covers you in goo that'll prevent you from moving until another teammate shoots you free. And honestly, hearing the line, "I've been gooped," over and over again from your teammates is actually more annoying than dealing with the enemy itself. A grabber will do exactly that. It will grab you until you die unless a teammate intervenes. And then you have an enemy called a spawner, and I'll leave that one up to your imagination to work out what that one does. In fact, the only enemy that really stood out is something called a flasher, and that will illuminate the room that you're in, and that in turn makes it more difficult for you to see the standard enemies running at you. And it's the same situation with the weapons in the game. They're just very bland and boring. You've got your run-of-the-mill SMG, assault rifle and shotgun. And I believe there are a few special weapons that get scattered around the map. But with a sci-fi game, there's so much potential to have really unique and creative weapons. And I just feel like the Anacrusis weapons resemble some Nerf gun rip-off that you would buy off Wish. I just wish that the weapons in the game had more significance to your overall team dynamic. So all in all, my time playing the Anacrusis was just a really disappointing experience. Now, don't let this review dictate whether or not you play the game, because obviously this review is my own opinion, and the game is in Xbox Game Pass, so you might as well give it a go. But for me personally, and this is going to sound a bit harsh, but my favourite part of the Anacrusis was actually turning the game off.
Well, this isn't good. We're gonna have to try to find another way.
So there you have it, guys. That concludes my review of the Anacrusis. Now, I'm aware that I'm likely going to receive some negative comments about this review, but I honestly believe that being honest about games is important, especially when you're doing game reviews. And it's not that I hated the game, I just believe that first impressions are everything, and whilst this game is an early preview game, and rough edges are to be expected, I just believe that the game offered me such little substance that the chances of me going back to it once it's in a better state are just slim to none. And when you consider that this game is also in Xbox Game Pass, and it's surrounded by games that are not only more enjoyable but in a much better state, I just think it's going to get overlooked. And unfortunately, if I had to give the Anacrusis a score on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a 3. I just didn't have fun playing this game. Now, if you like this kind of content and you like good honest reviews, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I'm back now. I have a lot more content planned for the future. And yeah, I am your boy Redders. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next video.